So, welcome to part 2 of the Vampire Jenny reading. Trigger warning just up front. If you don't like blood or references to major character death from the previous part, you probably shouldn't listen to this one. It's not like super graphic, there's just a lot of blood. Without further ado, I believe we should get started, and I will refresh you on where we left off. The girl next door, who was always there to encourage them and listen to them, was gone, and her body was rotting in the Upside Down alone. The next week, Jenny shot upright, gasping for air. Shit. Now, so that's how it's going to be. Well, let's figure out what the hell sort of undead I'm supposed to be. Vecna stared at her, ripping her way through the vines and wincing in pain each time she ripped one. Connected to the hive mind, but I still have eyes. Good to know, not a demogorgon. I know you're watching me. You want me to be your lieutenant, don't you? She murmured to herself before shouting at Vecna. She knew he was the only possible reason for her revival besides the bats. Yes, I'm hurt, and you and I are alike. We were both left behind, underestimated, and now, with my help, we can rule over those that once spurned us. Vecna exposited in that low timbre he always had when he was being condescending. Sure. Do you want me to, hunt people, or... Head empty. Jenny just repeated that thought over and over again. Don't think about anything else. Head empty. Yes, I need you to consume more humans to gain back my strength. Vecna affirmed. Cool, then I'm gonna go do that. Jenny replied, keeping her thoughts to following orders. She knew better than to think about betrayal in the domain of a psychic. If she kept the act up, he'd stay out of her head unless he needed her. She first went to Dustin's house, the upside-down version at least, and listened for him to come home. Then she went nuts with the lights. Once she had his attention, she carefully spelled out, I'm not dead. That had to get the message across for now, as she went to pass through one of the gates. More like a massive rift between dimensions that she was rock climbing, but she managed eventually. Panting from exertion, she sat next to the rift, trying to regain oxygen. She could hear and smell better. She could smell the remnants of everything that remained in Munson's trailer, which wasn't much. Get it together, Crawl. You need to go get Dustin, she murmured to herself. She couldn't make it all the way to her house, but she made it to Harrington's before she collapsed from the open wounds in her sides. The streets were empty, which was good, because she was bleeding all over the place. But it was still mid-afternoon. She knocked, but somehow knew she couldn't answer without permission. Hey, babysitter. Sorry about the blood on your doorframe. Can I come in? She huffed, leaning pathetically against the doorframe. Yes! Oh my God! Harrington exclaimed, catching her as she collapsed into his arms. So, Vecna's not dead, and there is a possibility that I'm a vampire. Oh, and also I'm losing blood very rapidly. Sorry about the carpet. Jenny wheezed with a sweet smile, leaning on Steve as he led her to his bathroom. Let's get the bleeding stopped first. Worry about the carpet and explanations later, Steve stated, lugging her to the bathroom and grabbing a first aid kit. That's where the cutoff is for that first part, but we're gonna continue. Or I could explain now so I can focus on something other than how goddamn fast your pulse is. I am very tempted to bite you right now, so I'm going to keep talking so I don't do that. So, I died, definitely. I was keeping Munson and Henderson from charging in like righteous idiots. And I wake up in the Upside Down face-to-face with Vecna, agreed to help him so he wouldn't supersede my free will. I lied to his face. I know better than to think of betrayal in the domain of a psychic. Told Dustin, kind of. I used the lights to tell him I wasn't dead. You might want to radio him after I get some blood so I don't go feral. Jenny rambled, hissing when antiseptic made contact with festering wounds that were slowly scabbing over. Steve nodded. Do you want to drink from me? He asked, staring her in the eyes and lingering there for a bit longer than normal. Not really, but you've been driving me insane this whole time. Push me off if I go too far. Jenny shrugged, sinking her canines into his wrist. His blood tasted like the sour apple of his shampoo mixed with something kind of like teak wood and smoke. It wasn't the most pleasant thing, but it felt nice to actually consume something. That's enough, Crawl. I'm getting lightheaded. Steve struggled to push her off despite being an adult man. Christ, what is up with your strength? He asked in wonder and terror. Steve, where's your radio? I'm contacting Dustin and anyone else who's receiving, Jenny asked, getting up from her spot next to the bathtub. It's in my bedroom. Bedside table, Steve stated woozily. Alrighty, I'll get you some juice and saltines while I contact the rest of the party, Jenny stated, scurrying off to get the radio. She found it right where Steve said it would be. She took a deep breath. Is anyone receiving this? This is Jenny. I'm at Steve's. I am not dead. Likely a vampire, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. Over. The radio was flooded with chatter after she finished the message. She picked out Dustin and Robin asking questions and a welcome back from Will. The rest was chaos. Jenny carried the crackling radio with her as she gathered saltines and a glass of apple juice. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Steve slurred, still out of it from anemia. Jenny smiled and heard the doorbell ringing incessantly. I'll get it, Jenny stated, opening the door to a very frantic Eddie. So, turns out I'm basically female Kaz now. She laughed, trying to diffuse the tension between the two of them. Eddie engulfed her in a hug and buried his head in her hair before recoiling. Your hair smells like the upside down and your eyes are red, Eddie mused, making eye contact with her, and lingering. Again. I don't know about red eyes, but I can't exactly shower when Steve is anemic in the bathroom. As I previously said, female Kaz. Jenny dismissed with a grin. It's hard to graduate when the town is ripped to shreds, Eddie muttered, pulling back into the embrace. It's hard to be undead in broad daylight while dragging yourself out of another dimension and not being able to make it all the way home. The blood on the floor is mine, Jenny retorted, making Eddie notice the pool of still drying blood on the floor. Wait, you drank Steve's blood? Eddie exclaimed, shaking Jenny's shoulders. He's not dead, just woozy. I took a bit too much. Gave him a glass of juice and some saltines. He should be fine. After everyone gets here, we'll address what vampire lore does and does not apply to me. Also, if Vecna takes over me and makes me attack someone, I trust you and or Steve to kill me, Jenny assured him, looking him in the eyes with determination. They both nodded as if on her cue. She wouldn't let that happen. She wouldn't let Vecna take over her that easily. This is the longest video I've ever made, but that's cool. So we're gonna end that section there, and I wish you all a good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is for you. Have a good time.